Pierre Poilievre is back again attacking Justin Trudeau on the tax situation of Canada. Let's see what he has to say.
Madam Speaker, we are now living through an experiment. It's not an unprecedented experiment. It's tried about every 30 years as soon as the last experiment is forgotten. It's the idea that the government, if a government sees something that moves, they tax it. If it keeps moving, they regulate it. If it stops moving, they subsidize it. This is, of course, a quote I take from a famous American president who took the opposite approach. But it is the approach that we're living with right now. What are the results of a government that interferes to block Canadians from building things for themselves and then tries to subsidize that very building after the fact? The result is that the cost of everything is rising. The cost of government is driving up the cost of living. The government has produced $500 billion of new money that bids up the goods we buy and the interest we pay. And now Canadians face the real threat of a mortgage meltdown when those rates rise further. We see this approach, though, played out again and again. For example, they block 2 pipelines, but then subsidize a third. It's not that they're against pipelines, Madam Speaker. It's just that they're in favor of only a pipeline that can be built with $30 billion tax dollars.
Exactly.
They block mines. They blocked all of the mines in Northern Ontario's Ring of Fire.
What was the logic? There was an explanation. Was there like a real explanation besides what Pierre just said?
And now they want to subsidize those very same mines.
Exactly.
They tax small businesses and then they claim they're coming up with subsidies to bail out those very same small businesses for the cost that the government made them pay. They claim their carbon tax works like this. They'll take the money away and give it back, and somehow it'll be worth more than when it left. Madam Speaker, of course, we now know that everyday Canadians are paying more, vastly more, in these taxes than they get back in return. The experiment fails. Every 30 years or so it happens, and it's only allowed to happen because there's been enough time passing for people to forget its logical outcome.
Yes.
But the logical way out of it is to take exactly the opposite approach. Instead of taxing and blocking our industry and then subsidizing it, we should do neither. We should have real, sensible, streamlined rules that allow us to protect our environment and public safety, but allow our entrepreneurs, investors, industrialists to get things done. And that's what we will do when I'm Prime Minister.
Is Trudeau going to respond? I want to hear what Trudeau has to say.
Ambitious goals. Why don't we make the goal that instead of being the second slowest in the OECD to grant a building permit, why can't we be the fastest place to grant a building permit anywhere in the OECD? Why can't we approve a mine or a small modular nuclear reactor in 2 or 3 years rather than in 25 years? What do we learn in years 23, 24, and 25 that we could not have learned in years 1, 2, and 3 of these projects? Why don't we incentivize our municipalities to do what some are trying their very best to do? For example, the mayor of Walkerton just streamlined and sped up the approval of housing so that he could bring 3 60-unit apartment blocks in several months. In the Great Squamish people of Vancouver, right inside the city, don't have to follow Vancouver's bureaucratic rules because they control their own land. They were able to speed up and approve 6,000 units of housing on 10 acres of land. That's 600 units of housing per acre.
Squamish is just next to me here, and the people there don't really like that the place is developing so quickly. I must just state that. I'm not saying everybody living there. I'm just saying some of the people I know in Squamish, they would like it to be like a small town still where you can just come chill, because now there's so many people and a lot of traffic there now.
People who will now have homes because the Squamish know how to do what so many local government bureaucrats do not allow, which is to approve projects and get them built. It reminds me of the great Aubrey Moody, who was the mayor of Nepean. And Jack May went and saw him on a Sunday morning before he'd got to go to church and said, "I want to build a car dealership. I've got a piece of land." The next day at the local town hall, the lawyer sat down with the engineers, they stamped and within 48 hours there was approval, and within 72 hours there was construction, and the car dealership is still standing safely there 70 years later. That's common sense. And in that way, we can build homes that people can afford, build businesses that pay higher paychecks, lower the burden of tax on the backs of the hardworking people, let them bring home more of their paychecks. That is the purpose of our government. It is to make Canada work for the people who do the work, by bringing home lower costs, by eliminating the carbon tax and the inflationary deficits, bringing home powerful paychecks with lower taxes that reward hard work, and by removing gatekeepers to build homes and to allow First Nations to develop their economies and our people to develop their own industry, bringing homes people can afford, by removing gatekeepers, freeing up land, speeding up permits to build, bringing homes, safe streets for our people, with consequences for repeat violent offenders, not by targeting our lawful firearms owners, and bringing home our freedom again by eliminating the censorship and the centralized control that this government has attempted to impose on the people. So in other words, when we say bring it home, it means using this House to bring home the power, the control, and the money back into the hands of the entrepreneur, the worker, the everyday, extraordinary people who know better than anyone in this room how to chart their own course and live their own lives. It's common sense. It's the common sense of the common people, united for our common home, your home, my home, our home. Let's bring it home.
You know the way they always stand up and clap? It looks like it's a theater, like a drama school or something. Anyways, first and foremost, before I even comment on anything he said, I just want to say it's easy when you're not the prime minister to come out and criticize the prime minister. Anybody can do that. But when you get on that seat, are you going to do everything you've spoken about? That's the first comment. That being said, I believe Pierre Poilievre made very, very good points there. Because I think if more houses were available, things like rents and house prices will have to go down because there won't be so much demand anymore. So the landlords will have to bring down the rent so people can rent the houses. And the people selling the houses, the mortgage, the banks, they have to bring down things like interest rates so they can get more people to buy from them rather than the other person. There's going to be competition, right? So the prices will start coming down. So building a lot of houses could help, is one way to solve the problem. But the thing about the government is nothing is really white or black. It's always a thing of utilitarianism, like the greater good or the lesser evil. It's always that. So I don't know if Trudeau's board, they are seeing something we are not seeing. That's why they're making these decisions. I don't know. I'm not trying to make excuses for Trudeau. As a matter of fact, you guys probably should know that already. But I don't know. Maybe Trudeau should speak for himself and really address the issue of this housing. And every point Pierre made, if I can see a video of Trudeau like countering the points with what he's doing. Because anytime we see these debates in the Congress, there's always a diversion between the discussions. It's like, while Pierre Poilievre is speaking about housing, the response from the Liberal Party is always, we're too busy feeding the poor and bringing oral care. It's kind of like, we're speaking about housing. How do we get to oral care? Like, there's videos on this. I'm not trying to make this up. I've reacted to videos of this conversation going that way. You can check it out on the channel, or if you want it, just ask me in the comment section and I'll show you the video. So I'm not making any of this up. Anyways, that's all I have to say is the end of this video. Talk to me in the comment section if you want to see more updates. I'll be happy to bring it. So feel free to let me know. It's the end of this one. Smash the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Have a wonderful day. Peace.